Now, working out what we think and what we like must be one of the great secrets to any successful business, and technology is certainly helping achieve that like never before. Facial coding is a way of analysing somebody's feelings by their facial expressions, and it could be coming to a phone near you when it's rolled out on mobile devices later in the month. Now, it's a potential goldmine for advertisers. For critics, well, they argue it could be abused. Just imagine employers monitoring their staff's faces for signs of boredom. Well, with me is Graham Page, Executive Vice President for Consumer Neuroscience at Millward Brown. And just a moment ago, Graham put me through my paces on the facial coding system he's developed. Okay, Graham, so you've got all the technology on the laptop even here. What exactly are you going to make me do?
So I'm going to ask you to watch a commercial. It's one that you may have seen before, and while you watch it, we will record you, obviously assuming you say yes, and we'll then use the software to understand when you smiled, when you looked surprised, whether you were happy or sad as you watched the commercial.
Okay, we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I say yes.
Okay,
we'll give it a go.
So if you can just lean in a little, I can see you in the camera has got you. We'll now watch the ad.
Hey, what's happening, babe? Nothing. Just chilling, watching the game, having a bud. What's up with... Hey, hold on a second. Hello?
What's that? Yo, hold up. Hello?
Familiar ad. But
Well, let's just talk through that, Graham, because I don't know the results yet. You've got it all on the laptop. It's amazingly simple in that regard. But what did you draw from that?
Well, we showed you one of the most, I guess, iconic pieces of advertising for Budweiser of the last couple of decades, the What's Up campaign. And it's one of the strongest ads for that brand that's aired. And your results kind of bear that out in that, where, you know, even though it was first aired in 1999, you still found it funny. You still smiled a lot at the punchline. If we can have a look at the results here, you can see that this big spike here, this blue line here, shows when you smiled in response to the advertising. And you smiled a little bit early on in the ad as you kind of worked out what it was, but then in particular as the guys start saying "what's up" to each other, we got a big smile, and in fact much higher than the average for most people when they watch this ad. So these lines at the bottom here show for about 500 people for whom we've shown this ad how they kind of smiled, and you had a pretty strong
clearly
response.
An easy touch for a beer. That's probably the bottom line to it. But interestingly, you would use that essentially in terms of before you put an advert out, possibly, to decide this doesn't really work or this is fantastically popular.
The bulk of our work is involved in looking at people's attitudes towards brands and advertising, and a lot of that is researching ads before they go to air. Ads often try to make an appeal to our emotions. It's important to perhaps make people like the brand, have them engage with the ad. This kind of technology helps us understand whether people really are feeling, you know, in the way that the advertiser hoped, and therefore we can use that to understand something about how effective it will be when it goes to air.
Right, everything we did was voluntary. I know you stressed that you use it in a voluntary sense, so people need to know that they're interacting with it. But can you see ways in which this could be rolled out in the real world? I think they've talked about supermarkets actually having it in the supermarket.
Yeah, I think that there's a big difference between the sort of technology that we're using, which is as a market research tool where we'll only ever film people with their consent as part of a research interview, and the sort of application that you're talking about there, where people might see it in, you know, it might be used to film them in supermarkets. From my perspective, I think this kind of technology requires people's consent, and we're always, you know, very keen to make sure that people give that.
Right, there might be others who would see it as potentially usable in a different way. I mentioned earlier on about the idea of your boss having a look at how you act and respond at work. How sensitive is this? Could it show boredom? Can it show displeasure? Can you get as many characteristics as we have on it?
The technology will cover a lot of different expressions. If people are showing no emotion on their face, it will flatline, and people will show nothing. So if they're bored, it will absolutely show they're bored. If they're surprised, it will show they're surprised. If they're disgusted,
we're possibly right to be a bit worried about how this is could be used.
Again, I think it comes back to how it is used. Again, the technology that we use, we're a market research company. We would only ever use it for a research purpose, and our technology partner, Affectiva, who provide the technology, also use it in that way. So I think we're a long way away from people snooping on their employees in their own workplace using their webcams. I think there's a long way before that happens.
Let's hope so. Graham,
Let's hope so.
Graham Page, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, if you